Hi, I'm Rick Kaler. Thanks for joining me. A client recently told me about her first medical checkup after becoming eligible for Medicare. She says, the doctor said things like, they require us to fill out this form, and this test is covered every 3 years, so we can't do it this year. And Medicare will pay for a baseline EKG even though you have no history of heart disease. She told me that she's gone to this doctor for 10 years. She says she was the same person she was a year ago. Yet it felt as if she had moved to a category where the appointment was all about the paperwork instead of her health. A situation like this, where the paperwork seems more important than the person, demonstrates something I call the principle of bureaucratization. The idea that the more layers of decision-making are added to an organization, the less efficient it becomes in delivering its goods and services. While this phenomena affects organizations and governments of all sizes, the negative outcomes seem to increase the larger a company becomes or the further away from the seat of government the constituents are. Municipal services seem to be delivered more efficiently than state services. State services tend to be more efficient than those coming from the federal government. There are some exceptions, but not very many. One reason is that the further removed from you the decision maker is, the less personal services you're going to receive. The services just aren't going to be as personal. Moving from the private healthcare system to the government-run healthcare system called Medicare is just one example. The same principle seems to apply in other countries. I've visited the UK numerous times. It seems every time that I visit, I've read a newspaper article about some specific failing of the NHS, which is the National Health Service. Just recently, at a workshop in Europe, a participant from the UK told me that the waiting list to see a psychiatrist was 1 year. She said, the NHS simply works against you. And she said that with a lot of exasperation. I think most Americans can agree that our healthcare system is badly flawed. We may disagree on the causes and the cures. I see as one of the major problems that our federal government has created a regulatory structure that allows a select number of health insurance and pharmaceutical companies control over the healthcare system. These regulations have sent insurance costs soaring by almost eliminating competition. Third-party payment of medical costs means those receiving the services don't have any incentive to even ask about the costs. Bureaucratization isn't limited to governments. It can also affect large companies where the policies are made by people many layers away from the customers. And those employees that are dealing with the customers who just don't have the authority to make decisions or solve problems at that level. I mean, who hasn't experienced having a seemingly easy problem to solve with a service provider, calling a customer service rep up, and ending up on the phone for 45 minutes being passed from department to department and supervisor to supervisor? I bet you've been there. Most employees of large firms and governments are equally frustrated by the bureaucracy created in their organizations. Bureaucratic organizations stagnate innovation. They stagnate responsiveness. They are especially inefficient when those dealing directly with consumers don't have any significant consequences riding on the quality of those goods or services. This is one reason why many, like Brian Robertson in his book Holacracy, believe the best practices governance model for organizations is a self-organizing structure that empowers the people closest to consumers to make decisions. So what's the bottom line? You're ultimately responsible for your own well-being. Ask questions, be the squeaky wheel, and above all, make connections with those working in the bureaucracies you deal with. Remind them that their purpose is to serve people, not paperwork. Thanks for joining me.